Let us discuss the answers for the previous home assignment. First main, state whether the statements given below are true or false. First one, stone is transparent while glass is opaque. Answer is false. A notebook has luster while eraser does not. Answer is false. Third one, a piece of wood floats on water. True. Fourth one, sand settles down in water. Answer is true. Second main, answer the following questions. First question, differentiate between transparent and translucent objects. Transparent objects. Objects which allow all the light to pass through them are called transparent objects. Example, plain glass, plastic, etc. Translucent objects. Objects which allow only a part of the light to pass through them are called translucent objects. Example, tracing paper, frosted glass, etc. Second question, a cork floats in water. Why? Answer, a cork has lesser density than water. Therefore, it floats in water. An activity was given to find out whether the palm of your hand is transparent or translucent using a lighted torch. I hope many would have tried this and got the answer also. So, let us see whether palm is transparent or translucent. Our palm allows only a part of the light to pass through it. Therefore, our palm is said to be translucent. I hope many would have got the answer correct. Now let us continue. There are many instances where a substance is separated from a mixture of materials. Let us take the example of mixture itself. I think all of you are familiar with mixture. You like to eat it, isn't it? So, what is a mixture made of? It contains flattened rice. It has peanuts, curry leaves, cashew nut, fried coconut, etc. So what do you do when someone gives you mixture to eat? Some of you may not like it. So what you do? You pick out the peanuts. Maybe they are your favorites. Some of you remove the curry leaves. Some like to eat only the cashew nuts, isn't it? So what are you doing? You are separating the components of the mixture. Another very common example, vegetable upma or uppit. Got the picture? Yes. All of you like it, isn't it? Again, vegetable upma or the uppit is an assortment of vegetables. Like you have different varieties of vegetables such as the beans, the carrot, the peas, curry leaves, green chili, tomato, coriander, etc. When it is served to you, will you start eating immediately? No. First thing what you do, you dig with your spoon and try to separate out things which you don't like. For example, you first remove the curry leaves. Some of you remove the green chilies because they are spicy. Some of them don't like the beans, they remove the beans. So again, what are you doing here? You are separating the components of upma. So in our homes, every day morning we make tea or we prepare tea. After preparing tea, it is filtered. So by filtering, what are we doing? we are separating out the tea from the tea leaves. So therefore, separation of substances takes place in our daily life. But why do we separate things or substances? Let us find out now. Let us find out why things are separated from a mixture of materials and what are the different methods of separating substances from a mixture in the lesson Separation of Substances. Why do we separate substances? We separate substances so that we are able to separate two different but useful components. The best example would be churning milk. What is churning milk? It is the process of shaking up cream to make butter. So we get two products, butter and buttermilk, both of which are useful to us. So we are separating two useful components. Secondly, we separate substances to remove impurities or harmful components. For example, we separate stones from rice, stones or even husk from rice. Stones and husk are both indigestible, so therefore we have to remove them. So here we are removing the harmful component. Finally, we separate substances to remove non-useful components. For example, separating tea leaves. Once you prepare tea, we filter it out and remove the tea leaves. These tea leaves are no longer needed, so we usually throw them. So it becomes a non-useful component. The different methods of separation of substances are hand picking, threshing, winnowing, sieving, magnetic separation, sedimentation and decantation, filtration and evaporation. The first method of separation of substances is hand picking. As the name suggests, here we hand pick the impurities. Now what happens is, when you purchase rice or pulses from the shops or the market, sometimes they may contain impurities such as husk, stone, other grains, etc. Now these impurities have to be removed before cooking. So these impurities are removed by hand picking only. Because they are very less in number, hand picking becomes very easy. And the quantity of the impurities is not much. Children, you must have seen bundles of wheat or paddy stalks lying in fields after harvesting the crop. Stalks are dried in the sun before the grain is separated from them. Each stalk has many grain seeds attached to it. Imagine the number of grain seeds in each stalk. There are several hundreds bundles of stalks lying in the field. So how does the farmer separate the grain seeds from those many bundles of stalks? Doing it manually is impossible. So how is it separated then? The stalks are beaten and the grains get separated. But all this work is done manually. Sometimes they are laid on the ground and vehicles are made to run over them. Sometimes they also use animals and they make them to walk over the stalks or bundles of stalk. Machines are also used to thresh large quantities of grain. The process that is used to separate grain from stalks is called threshing. Activity: try to separate a mixture of sand and powdered dry leaves. What method would you use to separate the mixture of sand and powdered dry leaves? After threshing, the grains are still mixed with a lot of husk. Now the farmer has to remove the husk. So what he does is, in an open area, they take the grains in a plate and hold it high up at the shoulder level. As the wind blows, the husk, which is very light, gets carried away, while the heavier grain falls down in the form of a heap. The separated husk is used as fodder for cattle. What is fodder? It is food for cattle. By this method, the lighter husk particles are separated from the heavier grains. This process of separating lighter particles from heavier particles of a mixture by wind or by blowing air is called winnowing. So what is winnowing? Winnowing is the process of separating lighter particles from heavier particles of a mixture by wind or by blowing air is called winnowing. Children, when we plan to bake a cake, what is the first thing we do? Yes, you might say that we collect all the ingredients, isn't it? Yes, when we gather all the ingredients, next what we do is we take the flour which is to be used for baking purpose. Now, how do we start with the flour here? First of all, we need to remove the impurities or the lumps which is present in the flour. Now we cannot remove the lumps from the flour using our hands. So what do? We use a sieve to remove the lumps. What is a sieve? S-I-E-V-E. A sieve is a plate with many tiny pores or holes. The size of the holes depends on the size of the particles to be separated. When we put flour in the sieve, the larger particles, that is the bran or lumps, remain in the sieve plate while the finer flour particles pass through the holes. What is bran? Bran is the impurity which needs to be separated from the wheat flour. Bran is nothing but the outer skin of grains that gets mixed with the flour. So when your mother is sieving the wheat flour before making chapati or rotis, you can see her when she puts the flour in the sieve and sifts it, the brownish color impurity will remain in the sieve plate. That brownish impurity is nothing but bran. In a flour mill, they make flour using the wheat. Now they have to clear the wheat from the impurities such as husk and stones. So what they do is they take bag full of wheat and pour it on a slanting sieve. The sieving removes pieces of stones, stalk and husk. If you observe the picture in the slide, you can see one more slanting sieve. Yes, this is a common picture which you see in the construction sites. So what are they doing here? They are separating pebbles and stones from sand. So this is commonly seen. This is also a method of sieving or separating particles. So what is sieving? Sieving is a method for separating particles of different sizes. For different mixtures, we use different sieves with different sizes of holes. For example, to sieve atta, we use a plate with very tiny holes, whereas slightly bigger holed sieve plate is used to sieve grains. So let us repeat, what is sieving? Sieving is a method for separating particles of different sizes. The next method of separation is magnetic separation. As the word magnetic, you would have understood what it means. Separating the components of a mixture by using a magnet is called magnetic separation. Metals like iron, cobalt, nickel are attracted by a magnet and can be separated from a mixture. So, what is magnetic separation? Separating the components of a mixture by using a magnet is called magnetic separation. Points to remember: separation is essential to separate two different but useful components, to remove non-useful components, to remove impurities or harmful components. Handpicking, threshing, winnowing, sieving, magnetic separation, sedimentation, decantation, and filtration and evaporation are some of the methods of separating substances from their mixtures. Stones are separated from grains by handpicking. Husk is separated from heavier seeds of grains by winnowing. Home assignment. First main, match the following. 3 columns are given. Column 2 and 3 are jumbled up. Match the process with its purpose and the way separated components are used. So what you're going to do, the first column is as it is, 2 and 3 are jumbled, you have to put them in a proper order. Second main, name the following. First one, the process of removal of heavier and lighter components of a mixture by wind or by blowing air. Second one, the process of separating grains from stalks. Third one, the process of separating components of a mixture having different sizes. Fourth one, the method used to separate slightly larger sized impurities like stone and pieces of dirt from rice and pulses. Answers will be discussed